From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good Wednesday morning. It's 5 o'clock. Welcome to Montana This Morning. I'm Victoria Hill. Thank you so much for starting your day with us. Our top story this morning, the COVID-19 death toll continues to climb across Montana, and our region remains the hardest hit area in the state. On Tuesday, state health leaders reported 9 more people passed away. 4 of them were Yellowstone County residents. More than 5,000 people have contracted the virus here since March, and there have been over 1,800 new cases in the county since October 1st. More than 80 Yellowstone County residents have died since the beginning of the pandemic. And some startling numbers out of Bighorn County, Montana. Almost 20% of residents over the age of 70 that have contracted COVID-19 there have died. Half of all deaths in Bighorn County have been people in that age group. Yesterday, health officials announced 15 new cases there. 20 Bighorn County residents are in the hospital with the virus. On Wednesday, Governor Steve Bullock outlined how the state would distribute a coronavirus vaccine when one is ready. Healthcare and other essential workers will be first in line to be vaccinated, then anyone at an increased risk of getting COVID-19 or experiencing a severe case. Bullock says there are still many unknowns, and the state will put together a vaccine coordination team to work on defining a plan.
At the state level, we'll be doing everything we possibly can to make sure that Montana is prepared for when a safe and effective vaccine arrives to our state.
Bullock also announced the state has given out more than $1 billion in unemployment benefits. That's over 20 times the benefits distributed at this time last year. The money went to more than 100,000 Montanans, but there's some good news on the job front. The state's September unemployment numbers have returned to a near normal of 5.3%. That's significantly lower than the national average of 7.9. The state has regained more than 48,000 jobs since April, the 7th best number across the U.S. Now it's time to get a check of the weather with Ed. And Ed, you also have some numbers for us, but not everyone will agree they're good.
That's true. Yeah, because a lot of record cold potentially. We're looking at fog across the area this morning, 31 right now, and that's going to seem really warm compared to the next few days, both for daytime highs and overnight lows. This morning, we've got a little bit warmer temperatures. Overall, yesterday, 42 the high. We started yesterday at that same 31-degree reading. We did pick up a little bit of moisture along the way. So far, about a foot of snow that we've seen out of this latest weather system. So the first round was gone. We started to melt a little snow yesterday. Now I've got rain and snow showers in the area. 20s, 30s across most of the map as we get started this morning. Rain and snow showers through southern Montana and northern Wyoming. And the mountains are going to get most of this next round of snow. We're going to pick up a little bit more along the way, but the bigger story is going to be as we move ahead, switching over from rain and snow showers to all snow and then just flat cold temperatures. We'll be easily setting records for an extended stretch from around tomorrow all the way through early next week for cold daytime highs and overnight lows.
Gosh, and that's why we have good hardy heavy coats and snow pants and thick gloves and all
plane
that.
Tickets.
We'll need all that. I don't have those, but yeah, I have my gloves ready to go. All right, Ed, thank you so much for that weather update. I'll get back to the news.
Okay, thanks.
On Capitol Hill, lawmakers made some progress yesterday on a COVID-19 relief deal. Another conversation is slated for today between House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin. Pelosi had set yesterday as the deadline to come to an agreement, but says the progress is worth pursuing. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says if the White House and Democrats reach a deal, the Senate will vote on it. However, sources say McConnell also warned the president against going along with the large spending bill. Today, the Senate is scheduled to vote on a separate proposal worth roughly $500 billion. It's similar to a plan Democrat leaders rejected earlier this year. This bill would only revamp the Paycheck Protection Program and leave out all the other benefits Democrats have been demanding. This plan is also expected to fail, and the vote is considered mostly symbolic. With less than 2 weeks to go until Election Day, President Trump held a rally in Pennsylvania on Tuesday night. It's a state the president carried carried in 2016, but recent polls show Democratic nominee Joe Biden in the lead there. Biden has spent much of his week away from the campaign trail. The former vice president has been in Delaware preparing for the final debate tomorrow night. When President Trump won Pennsylvania in 2016, he was the first Republican presidential candidate to do so in nearly 3 decades. He was propelled to victory in part by large turnout in the state's rural coal country. CBS's Natalie Brand checked in with coal industry workers to get a sense of how they're feeling in this election.
In southwestern Pennsylvania's coal country, mining has long been a source of pride and survival.
That crew that you worked with, those 8 men, that was your second family. You were there working in the mine because of your first family. If you didn't work, they didn't eat.
Steve Corcoran is retired, but worries about the future of the industry. It's one reason he's voting again for President Trump.
What about Biden's messages on this topic concerns you?
If he were to be elected, you know, some of his views and some of his plans, it would devastate this area.
It's a fear that impacted the vote here in 2016 when Mr. Trump carried Greene and Fayette counties by more than 60%.
He was going to bring coal back.
A promise that swayed Democrat Tony Bernsack to vote for the president, but not again.
I was lied to once, and you ain't gonna lie to me the second time.
Despite the Trump administration rolling back regulations, coal has seen double-digit declines and plants have continued to close.
Coal is a dying industry. You know, I never thought I'd say those words, but it is.
Economic forces, including the natural gas fracking boom, is considered a driving cause. But fracking has also benefited this area, abundant in natural gas. And now it's a big campaign issue for those who depend on the energy industry.
There are so many other jobs that complement the gas industry.
Biden has campaigned on building a new green energy infrastructure.
As far as the green jobs go, I'm sure a lot of the younger guys probably could transition to something like that, but it would be very difficult.
Those in the industry worry about not only a loss of income, but also a loss of identity.
My 2 son-in-laws, you know, that work in the gas industry, they would lose their job. Well, they can come and live with me, but it's scary.
The road ahead is uncertain for a region where energy has fueled life and politics. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Pennsylvania.
Many voters in southwestern Pennsylvania say they worry about Biden's mixed messaging on fracking. Biden has said he does not propose to ban fracking, but has said he would ban new gas and oil permits, including fracking on federal lands. Also making headlines this morning, President Trump's administration sued Google yesterday. The U.S. Justice Department alleges Google has stifled its competition in the online search market. The landmark federal complaint follows a year-long antitrust probe by DOJ investigators. They found Google and other tech giants like Facebook and Amazon enjoy monopoly power and have used it in anti-competitive ways. Google calls the legal action flawed, saying people simply choose to use their product more. The Army just declared the death of Vanessa Guillen was in the line of duty. That designation means the family of the murdered Fort Hood Army specialist will receive compensation like life insurance and final pay. It may also be a concession to her family, which had been very frustrated with the Army's response to her disappearance. The 20-year-old was bludgeoned to death by fellow soldier Aaron Robinson in April. Guillen's family said she had planned to file a harassment complaint against Robinson, who later took his life. And now closer to home, public comment is open as Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks puts the finishing touches on a plan to get rid of an invasive clam from Lake Elmo. The Asian clams were first spotted in the Billings Reservoir last year. Now FWP wants it drained in October of next year. They say once all the water is removed, not only will the clams die off, but officials can make improvements in the area. That includes more fishing access and installing a boardwalk. To read the full plan and weigh in, you can find a link in this story on KTBQ.com. And once the 30-day comment period is over, the regional FWP supervisor will decide whether or not to move forward with the lake's draining. In campus news, MSU Billings has officially hired a new chancellor, and she's already making history. Stephanie Hickswaw currently serves as president of Northwest College in Powell, Wyoming. Under her watch, that school recorded its highest completion rate in its history. She's also familiar with Montana, having spent 7 years as the president of Miles Community College in Miles City. When Hickswaw takes over as head of MSUB, she'll be the first woman to hold the position since the university was founded in the 1920s.
The first woman president at MSUB is certainly an honor. I think that the position at this time in its history fits my leadership style and experience very well. And so it's an honor to be selected.
And she will begin on January 11th. She takes over for Dan Edelman, who stepped down in August due to health issues. Well, yesterday we told you more about the personal history of Democrat candidate for Montana Governor Mike Cooney. Today in our coverage of Montana's 2020 race for governor, MTN chief political reporter Mike Dennison brings us a closer look at the personal and professional background of Republican candidate Greg Gianforte.
If you've heard Greg Gianforte talk at all, you've no doubt heard Montana's only congressman say he's a business guy, or something like this.
I've spent my entire career creating good-paying jobs, mostly here in Montana.
Which is very much true. Gianforte and his wife Susan co-founded Right Now Technologies in Bozeman in the mid-1990s, a firm that developed and sold software that enabled companies to do customer service electronically, just as the internet took off. It grew into an international company with 500 employees in Bozeman and was sold to Oracle Corporation in 2012 for $1.8 billion, earning the Gianfortes many millions. But before the Gianfortes moved from the East Coast to Bozeman in 1994, they had already launched and sold 4 technology startups, including Brightwork, a software networking firm purchased by the computer security giant McAfee.
We built that. We ended up with about 150,000 installations around the world. And that business was purchased by McAfee, the antivirus company. And then I ran the North American business for McAfee for a period of time.
Gianforte grew up in a Philadelphia suburb and went to college at Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken, New Jersey, right across the Hudson River from Manhattan. He earned degrees in electrical engineering and computer science and calls himself a genuine geek. But while Gianforte grew up on the East Coast, he says a junior high school trip to Montana, when he spent the summer in the backcountry near Red Lodge, convinced him this is where he wanted to live. It just took him a while to get here. The Gianfortes had 3 children when they moved to Bozeman, and their 4th child was born there.
The whole concept was we wanted to raise our family in Montana. And I thought the internet created an opportunity to really remove the barriers of geography. And I came here and people said, well, no one's ever done that before, Greg. But I saw the potential.
In addition to starting Right Now Technologies in Montana, the Gianfortes also got involved in politics, giving money to Republican candidates and advocating for many conservative causes. They also have a family charitable foundation that has donated nearly $80 million to some of those causes, but also to local schools, churches, and social services. It wasn't until 2016 that Gianforte finally ran for office, losing the governor's race to Democratic incumbent Steve Bullock. 6 months later, he won Montana's only congressional seat in a special election to succeed Ryan Zinke, who had been appointed Interior Secretary by President Trump. Now Gianforte is back for a second try at the governorship, pitching his business experience as his main selling point. Montana voters are deciding right now if that's the right resume. In Helena, I'm Mike Dennison for MTN News.
Thank you so much for starting your Wednesday with us here on Montana This Morning.